Hello and welcome to another Spectrum Geeks video. My name is Dale, and in this video we're going to speak about Herschel Infrared Heating Panels. Talk about a little bit about what they are, how they work, the cost, and why I decided to buy one for my house. So you're probably watching this video because you're interested in infrared heating panels and you're trying to decide whether it's the right thing for you to do in your home. So let me talk to you about the specific models that I've bought, what my plans are for the future, and what I think so far based on the testing I've done. So I bought some of one of right now, the Herschel Select XLS series of infrared heating panels. We'll go specifically into the models that I bought in a moment, but give you a little bit of information about how all of their heaters work and function. So all of their XLS series panels have something which they call Smart R receivers built into them, and this basically enables Wi-Fi communication between the heating panel and the thermostat. You need a thermostat in every room that you have one of these, basically you can control and manage the heating for each room. And there are 3 different types of thermostat available that have their Smart R receiver technology, and they're basically all called some form of XLS controllers. Now, depending on the controller that you have, it gives you a couple of options. One, obviously, to be able to control the heating from the thermostat itself. Some of them then enable you to have access to an app to be able to control your heating in the app. And then some of them also enable control of your heating system via a smart assistant, be that the Echo or the Google type of devices. So variety of options available. And one of the kind of good selling points in terms of design of their heating panels is they come in a variety of designs. So you'll see in a moment, the one I have is just their basic white plain model, which I think is most common because people are very familiar with having a white radiator. You can paint them, they're kind of a matte finish, but they are paintable. But if you don't want white, then you might want to have a mirror version, because again, perhaps you want to have it hanging over your fireplace or something like that. We go into kind of locating of these devices a little bit more, but you can also have a picture version as well, so it looks like a piece of art, or have a special custom photo put on there. That is also an option. And also in the bathroom area, they also do a mirror towel rail version as well. So basically, anywhere you currently have a radiator or some kind of heating system in your house can be replaced with one of the Herschel Select XLS heating panels. If you're environmentally friendly as well, it is good to know that 96% of the material that these Herschel infrared panels are made up of can be recycled, and all of their products come with a 5-year warranty as standard. So really, really good. So the reason you might be thinking about getting an infrared panel is if, like me, you've got massive gas bill, it's an older house, and you're looking to kind of move into using electric, more renewable power source, especially if you've got solar or something. You can obviously run your heating system obviously from renewable electricity. And you might be looking at infrared panels because you've read that basically they are better in your house in terms of reduction of condensation, a different type of heat. Also, they're more efficient than convection radiators and heating systems based on how they work. And that's probably something that is probably worth mentioning right now. Based on some of the statistics that I've read, using infrared heating can save you around 36% in terms of energy savings of the convection heat equivalent. So just to kind of explain the differences there, convection heat is what most heating systems are currently using. So if you have either a wet heating system, so radiators, that is a convection heating system. Same as if you have air conditioning with the heater element in there, what you're doing through convection is you're heating the air. Obviously the air typically gets hotter and rises, goes around the room, and obviously once the air in the room has been heated, then you feel that you're more comfortable. Infrared does not use convection, it uses radiant heat, so that is direct heat. It's not actually heating the air at all, really. The heating of the air is a byproduct of the heating system. So what the infrared panel is doing is heating your body, it's heating the objects and the walls in the room. Also, as they heat up and retain that heat. They obviously then radiate that heat out as well. So it's it's a different type of feeling of heat, and the best way of explaining it is it basically feels like you have sun coming from the area where you have that heating panel. Another advantage of the infrared heating panels is you can mount them in different places. As mentioned already, they have the mirror and photo versions, so you can have them anywhere on a wall. It doesn't have to be restricted in the same place that you would have a radiator. In fact, Herschel recommend that you mount their radiators on the ceiling. It gives a much kind of better heat dispersal in the room, and they have a really neat calculator on their website where you can work out what wattage of system you might want for each of your rooms based on the cubic meterage of your room. So they have panels ranging from 300 watts all the way up to 1100 watts, and the prices start from around £238 up to £539 at the time of doing the video. So that's for the heating panels themselves. And as mentioned, you do need a thermostat in each room, and again, depending on the thermostat you have, they range from £69 to £89. Before talking about the specs, the specific unit I've gone through and how it's working, I should probably talk about the health element. Many people read about infrared panels and are concerned that they are not good for your health or health for your body, because it's, again, heating like the sun, and we know that lots of time in a sunbed or out sunbathing will give you skin cancer. You don't have to worry about that with infrared heating panels. It is the UV light that is not good for the human body. Infrared is something actually that our bodies enjoy. We give off infrared heat. That's, when we cluster together to heat each other up, we're stuck somewhere in the cold. It's the infrared heat of our body that's being given off, and it's the same thing that's happening with the panel heaters. So they work really well, and they're really safe. And like I said before, I have the one just mounted here temporarily underneath the window whilst we try it out, and it feels like the sun is coming in from the window and heating me whilst I'm sat here at the table. So let's talk about the specs specifically of the Select XLS 600 watt panel that I've gone for, how you mount it, and why I decided to get one of these panels. So in this new house that I've moved into, it's built in the late 1940s. It's very leaky currently. Even in this kitchen area where the roof is over the top, there was no insulation whatsoever. In fact, there's no heater in the kitchen at all. We do have underfloor heating in part of the kitchen, but not in the part that I'm sat in right now. There's an old Rayburn cooker, which I worked out would cost about £400 a month just to have on to provide heating, and it takes quite a while to pump out that heat. So as I've been looking at these Herschel infrared heaters for a while, and my first gas bill was £450 in the first month, just gas, which again, and it isn't heating this room, so we still have the gas to contend with later. But I thought, right, instead of waiting until later to do some other development that will look to try out the Herschel heater, I'll grab one now, because it's just so cold over the winter. We just couldn't use this room sitting here. We'd have our dressing gowns on, absolutely freezing. So I went with, I guess, their starter pack, choosing the 600 watt white panel, which again I've currently got wall mounted, which we'll look at in a moment how that works, and their TPL plug-in Wi-Fi thermostat. So this is the thermostat, just plugs in somewhere in the room, obviously, that you're trying to heat. It has a very basic display, which I'll show you in a moment. So it shows the heat, current temperature, the set temperature, whether you have Wi-Fi signal. There's not really a lot of configurability, I should say, with this particular thermostat. Native to the thermostat itself, we can turn the temperature up and down with the plus and minus. It has a 24-hour timer, but not configurable for each day, just for 24 hours. We can turn it on and off, and we can pair and obviously set up the Wi-Fi to the panel as well. So very basic, very rudimental, but this one does support the app and smart device integration as well. That's actually something that I'm not that impressed with in terms of the app. So it's not an app that's developed by Herschel themselves. I'll bring up on the screen to show you what the app looks like. But basically they are using the Smart Life app and integrating the heating system into there. You don't have a lot of configurability in there, but it's much better than just using this thermostat all on its own. So you can basically have a couple of on-off per day that you can set in the app, and basically it's not so much on or off, it's the temperature settings that you want. So you can say, let's say at 4:30 in the morning, come on to 20 degrees and do that till 8:30, and then at 8:30 go to 10 degrees, and then at 4 p.m. come on again at 20 or something. So not super configurable, but you do have some basic access in the app, and again just be able to turn it on and off. But super easy to set up, but I think the app could be improved, especially if Herschel decides to develop their own app instead of piggybacking on a third party. You can, when you buy these panel heaters as well, give optional feet. So if you don't want to have it permanently mounted, perhaps you're having it in a shed or something for some winter project, they're about £49 for the feet. And you also can get a PIR sensor as well, so that if there's no detection in the room, it will turn the heater off, and then when you come back in again, it will turn it back on again. They're about £35. And again, the other thermostat options, so the 600 watt panel with this thermostat cost me £419 at the time of doing the video, and as I mentioned before, their availability ranges from 300 watts to 1100 watts, £238 up to £539, plus the thermostatic controller which you need, which range from £69 up to £89. This one here is £79. They have one that is battery powered, but that does not have the app integration from memory. But the £89 one is the one I'd probably get in all the rooms should I deploy these throughout my house, for the main reason that they have 7-day programmable functions. Also they have open door and open window detection as well. So if you've have a wife like mine who likes to open the window if the heat is too much, it will detect that there's been an open window and turn off the panel until it detects that there's no breeze again. So those are what I would go for. Fitting is really easy. They come with a 3-pin plug that you can then just mount, again, either on the wall with 4 bolts, and it kind of fits in like an L fashion. You kind of slot it on and slide around, and it just mounts really easily. So perfect for DIY. If you're just putting it on the wall, you'd probably have a plug socket somewhere, or again get an electrician to come in, and again I would put them in the ceiling if it was me. So let's just take a quick look at the panel itself. I'll talk to you about how it's performing, what my experience is of it, and the energy usage before we wrap up the video. Okay, so this is it behind me, the Herschel Select XLS 600 watt heater. I put the dimensions up on the screen, but as you can see, it's pretty innocuous looking, just mounted here under the window, and again I just got it plugged in over to the side to a 3-pin plug. In terms of how it performs and how it works, it again has changed this little living space from completely unusable to much usable very quickly. So in terms of the time to heat up, it takes about 1.5 minutes until you start to feel some heat from the unit. So whilst the panel's kind of warming up, and it tends to get to about 55 to 60 degrees Celsius when I've used my thermal imaging camera on it, and then it obviously pumps out that radiant heat. It does get very hot to touch, so obviously you want to kind of keep children away from it, but it's not like they're going to get scolded. It's just obviously 60 degrees centigrade, so it is quite hot close to it, but obviously it's radiating out into the room is kind of why you want it. A couple of things that was actually quite interesting and somewhat surprising. When it's in its off mode, as you'd expect, it's not using any electricity at all. Obviously there is a small amount of electricity used by the electronic thermostat, but when the unit first turns on, obviously it's 600 watts. It will rise up to about 710 watts in its first kind of initial couple of minutes of heating, and then will settle down to about 692 watts. So even though it's a 600 watt panel, it's using almost 100 watts more than expected, which isn't ideal. I mean, I thought that it would be 600 watts and 600 watts, but again, it's really a 700 watt panel, but still very economical in terms of amount of energy it's using. If you compare this to a convection heater, I had a 2 kilowatt heater in my old cave, for those of you that watched the channel before. And again, so the, what was that, three times this, and well, maybe even 4 times, and it never performed anywhere near as well as this thing does. So I really recommend checking out the Herschel Select XLS series of panels. I'm actually thinking now, even in the extension, I was planning to use these anyway. I'm now confirmed that I'm happy to use these, and definitely will ceiling mount them. But the old heating system I have in this house has micro bore, so not really an option to move to an air source heat pump. And even if it was, it's quite awkward to get to the pipes in this old house, and they make a hell of a lot of noise when the heating's on at night. It sounds a bit like a haunted house. So I wouldn't want to reuse those pipes anyway, and this would give us an option of switching those out and easily just having these infrared panel heaters in all of the rooms. Probably work out to be slightly cheaper, and again, because we don't need to heat all rooms at the same time. That's another advantage of these actually, is because they're not heating the air, as soon as they're on and you walk in, you feel the heat. It's like you just walked into a room that has the sun blasting through it. So I hope this video was helpful. If it has done, please give a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't done already. We'll talk about these panels probably more again in the future when we do an extension here in this house. But yeah, that's it. Take care of yourself, and goodbye for now.